Welcome to the Chronicles of a Cheating Wife channel. A new story every day. Don't forget to subscribe. You never asked. Not once. Not about the man whose phone I was holding in my hand that night, nor about the photograph of you that lit up his screen. You were asleep when I found it. Your phone on the kitchen table, receiving a text that you hadn't bothered to silence. A faint vibration, a small buzz. I woke up thirsty, went to get water, saw your phone light up. And there he was. His name, just Tony, next to a little heart icon. The thumbnail of your face, your lips parted in a way I knew too well. What jolted me more than the image itself was the timing. Here it was, nearly 2:00 a.m., and you were smiling from another man's phone, in a picture he felt compelled to send you at this hour. For a long, suspended moment, all I heard was the hum of the refrigerator and the thudding of my pulse in my ears. At first, I didn't open the message. I just stood there, barefoot on the cool tile, trying to decide if I had the right to go deeper, or if I wanted to stay blissfully ignorant. That was the first time I lied to myself. Of course I wanted to know. I opened it. I saw your face in full, beautiful, excited, alive in a way I hadn't seen for months. Your hair was a little messy, the background a professional studio, the lighting flattering every angle of your cheekbones. And your eyes, they weren't looking at the camera. They were looking off to the side, at him. A silent conversation that I was intruding on, even though you were my wife. I stared until the phone went dark, automatically locking itself. For a minute, my hand hovered over the screen, thinking I might investigate further, but something in me resisted. A voice whispered, "Leave it, don't go deeper. You can't handle what you'll find." But I didn't put the phone back on the table. I clenched it so hard my knuckles turned white, then placed it down gently, as if it were made of glass. I stood there breathing, swallowing hard. Then I padded back to the bedroom and lay down next to you, the woman who'd been my partner for over a decade. Your breathing was soft, your hair spilled across your pillow. I wanted to touch your shoulder and shake you awake, make you tell me everything right then. But I stayed on my side of the bed, my body stiff and cold, eyes burning holes in the ceiling. I don't know how long I lay there. Might have been hours. I was sure I wouldn't sleep, but exhaustion took me eventually. In the morning, you were already up when I stumbled into the kitchen. You smiled like any other day, maybe a little guarded, maybe not. I couldn't read you. "Coffee's on," you said, like always. I glanced at the phone, resting innocently near your cup. The same phone that had shown me a piece of your life I never knew existed. My tongue felt thick. I poured my coffee, swallowed. "Rough night," I managed to say. You asked if I was okay, if maybe I was working too hard. I just mumbled a thanks for the coffee. You came over and placed a small kiss on my cheek. Your lips were warm. Mine were numb. That day, I tried to function as usual. I told myself, maybe it's just a photograph from a client. She's a photographer. After all, sometimes a model for promotional shoots. Maybe she's excited about a new opportunity. Maybe it's nothing. But the logical part of me, the part that had grown up reading every angle of a story, recognized the look in your eyes. It wasn't the look of a casual colleague or friend. It was desire, plain and raw. And it rattled me more than I care to admit. Days passed. I avoided confrontation. A lesser man might have exploded in accusations, demanding the full truth. But I found myself cold, methodical, calculating. You never asked why I came to bed later than usual, or why I spent more time alone. You had your own schedule, photo sessions, occasional trips to an agency downtown, meetings with potential clients. You'd say, "Don't wait up," or "I'll be back by 9, then show up at midnight with flimsy excuses. I would nod and pretend to believe you. Our son, Josh, was finishing up a school project at the time, some film editing class. He was 15 and had a knack for digital stuff. One evening, about a month after I saw that photograph, he forwarded me a link with no subject line. Just 4 words. "You must know this. I clicked. It was a video. You were on camera, in some studio. White backdrop, a soft lamp overhead. There was laughter, off-screen directions, and then you walked into frame, slipping your arms around a man. Not just any man. Him. Tony. The same face from the phone at 2:00 a.m. The shot wasn't pornographic, but it was undeniably intimate. The sensual tension was there, your fingers in his hair, the angle of your bodies, your parted lips. Then came a moment where he lowered his head, pressed his mouth to your neck, and you gave this kind of soft, breathless laugh that I'd never heard from you. The same laugh you used to give me, years ago. I watched every second with a calm so terrifying, I hardly recognized myself. My heart hammered in my chest, but my face felt numb. Somewhere in the background, an off-screen voice said, "That's perfect, guys. Beautiful. Let's keep rolling." You didn't look uneasy or coerced or uncertain. You looked radiant, and that single realization cut deeper than any open hostility. You were happy in his arms. The video ended with you both laughing, then fading to black. 10 seconds of footage. 10 seconds that changed everything. Josh had found it on the internet, presumably while looking for a photography or modeling reference, or maybe he'd heard rumors. He never wrote anything besides, "You must know this." A father is supposed to protect his child, but here he was, protecting me, showing me the truth, even if it would destroy the illusion of our family. The fact that he did it so quietly spoke to how deeply he must have suspected. My chest felt heavy. I wanted to throw up. I didn't confront you that night, or the next. I took a silent vow that if you didn't admit it on your own, I'd gather everything, every bit of proof, and do it all in one clean blow. That's how I operate. I'm no saint, but I'm no savage either. I'm the kind of man who believes in letting the evidence speak. When I eventually confronted you, it wasn't with yelling or cursing. No, it was with a slow, careful precision. It was the following Friday, if memory serves. You came home around 1:00 a.m., looking exhausted yet curiously glowing. Your makeup was slightly smeared. Your hair smelled of some salon product I didn't recognize. I was in the living room. I had the video queued on the laptop. You turned on the lamp, startled to find me awake in the dark. Before you could greet me, I said, "Sit." I pressed play without a word of introduction. Your eyes snapped wide. You recognized the footage, the moment, the man. The color drained from your face. There was a strange hush in the room, as if all the air had been sucked out. When the clip ended, I closed the laptop. "Josh sent me that," I said quietly. Your hands trembled in your lap, your gaze flicking from me to the black screen. At last, you swallowed. I can explain," you began, voice quivering. I raised my hand, not abruptly, just enough to signal you to stop. "No," I said. "Don't talk. I need to ask you a question. And I want the truth." You nodded rapidly, tears already forming. "Okay. Are you in love with him?" My voice was so calm it felt unreal, like I was listening to a recording of myself. Tears welled up. You shook your head. "No. I don't know. It's not what it looks like." I gave a short exhale. "It looks like you're sleeping with another man." And that's when you broke. You started sobbing, burying your face in your hands, shoulders shaking. The tension in my muscles was so tight that I was sure I'd snap, but instead, I stayed composed. I let you cry for a moment, though it felt like an eternity. Eventually you whispered, "I'm sorry, Michael. I'm so sorry." Your apology echoed in the silence. I stared at you, the woman I'd shared a life with, the mother of our boy. I thought about the nights I spent working extra hours so we could pay your photography school tuition. The dinners where we dreamed together about traveling the world, taking pictures, writing stories. All of it felt so distant now, replaced by a single video of you and him. "Does he know about me?" I asked, purely out of a detached curiosity. I told him, "You and I were having problems," you said. "But But it's not serious between us. It's just, another sob tore through you. I got carried away. He's part of a new campaign I'm shooting. We got close. One thing led to another. I never wanted to hurt you. Your breath hitched. You tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. Don't, I said softly. Not now. And then came the moment I can't forget. You said, it's just been so hard. You've been distant. We haven't connected in so long. Your voice sounded like a girl trying to justify an obvious betrayal. The tears, the trembling lips, they were real, but they didn't erase the fundamental fact. You'd broken the vow. I didn't say anything more that night. My mind was whirring, cataloging the details. Instead, I left the living room and went upstairs to our bedroom, where I shut the door. I barely slept. You, I assume, spent the night on the couch. That was the first time we'd truly become strangers under the same roof. The next morning, I rose early and found you hunched over a cup of coffee. Your eyes were rimmed with red. We spoke in hushed, forced politeness, for Josh's sake. He came downstairs, awkwardly silent. I wondered if he heard anything the night before. If he had, he made no mention of it. He just ate his cereal in tense silence, glancing from you to me, like he could sense the rift. I almost admired your ability to pretend. You tried to smile at him, pat his shoulder, but he was stiff, unresponsive. When he finished, he grabbed his backpack and left for school without even a goodbye. The door closed behind him, leaving us alone again. I stared at the wooden table. Why did Josh have that video in the first place? Have you talked to him? You closed your eyes. No. I'm not sure how he even found it. I'll talk to him, I promise. You let out a shaky breath. I don't want him to hate me. I couldn't stand to look at you, so I told you the only thing I could articulate. He doesn't hate you. He's just hurt. We both are. That day, I went to work, functioned like a half-dead automaton. Words on the screen, emails, phone calls. By lunch, I'd let the question surface again and again. How long had this been going on? Exactly how deep did your relationship with Tony go? Was it just sex or something more? I found no answers in my own head, so I decided that night to do something drastic. I asked you for your phone. I'll never forget the look on your face, like a cornered animal. But I calmly insisted. I want to see your text messages, your pictures. If there's nothing to hide, show me. You refused. Panic flashed in your eyes. It was answer enough. We argued quietly in the hallway, hissing words so Josh wouldn't hear. Your refusal to give me the phone cemented everything. Even as I stood there, my voice was deathly calm. You're telling me you're sorry, but you can't show me the messages you send him. Your cheeks blazed with a mix of shame and defiance. It's private. I can't just. It's private. I repeated, numb. Right, because that's more important than our marriage. You just stood there, eyes downcast, tears brimming again. Eventually, I turned away, leaving you alone with your phone clutched to your chest. And that's when I felt something inside me break, quietly, like a fragile wire snapping under too much weight. I realized you had no intention of stopping whatever this was, no intention of proving your loyalty to me. Maybe you were stuck between the guilt and the thrill, but you weren't going to let it go. And that single fact told me the marriage was effectively over, whether you admitted it or not. We carried on for a few more weeks in a purgatory of politeness. You promised to cut ties with him, but I could see the doubt in your eyes whenever we discussed it. You were addicted, in a way, to the excitement. And me. I was slipping further into that state of cold, analytical detachment. I felt the pain, but I kept it locked behind my ribs, refusing to release it. I had begun to sleep in the guest room, or on the couch, giving you space. You said nothing, as though you expected it. Then came the night you came home from a supposed work trip, a day earlier than planned. I was in my office, used to be our spare bedroom. sorting through old family documents, scanning them. You knocked softly. When I looked up, you were pale, your hand shaking around a folded piece of paper. "I need to tell you something," you said. I stared at the paper, suspecting all kinds of revelations. You hesitated, then offered it to me. A DNA test result. I saw the headings, recognized the official lab's name. I looked up in confusion. "What is this?" "It's about Josh," you said, voice tight. He's not. Your breath caught in your throat. "You're not his biological father." Silence. Complete and utter. My mind felt like it was drowning in static. I remembered reading The Little Prince to Josh, night after night, when he was barely big enough to hold the book. I remembered rocking him to sleep while you rested in bed. I remembered how proud I was at his birth, how I thought he had my smile. I opened the paper, scanning the genetic data that spelled out the truth. Probability of paternity, 0%. The words stared back at me like a death sentence. "What do you mean? I'm not his father," I whispered. A tear slipped down your cheek. "I found out after the hospital, but you were so excited." God, Michael, I wanted him to have a father who loved him. And you did. You do. I never meant for you to find out now. "But Josh, he's been questioning things," he asked me. "He took a test. Then he made me take one. And I couldn't lie anymore. I didn't throw anything, didn't scream, didn't call you names. Instead, I felt a wave of nausea so strong I had to steady myself on the desk. My heart pounded dangerously. My lungs fought for air. But outwardly, I was calm. My voice, a whisper. "Who's his father?" You shook your head. "Somebody before you. A short-lived relationship. I never saw him again. We got together soon after." I swallowed, tasting bile. Suddenly, so many little things made sense. The timeline, how you always insisted he looked like a cousin on your side. I believed you, because I wanted to. Because I loved that boy with all my heart. The fatherhood I believed was mine had been a lie. You started crying again, choking out apologies. "It doesn't change how you raised him. He's still yours. He loves you. You're his dad." I said nothing. I walked past you, down the hall, and grabbed my coat. I left the house without a word, stepping into the cold Boston night. I walked for hours, the winter air biting my face, stinging my eyes. My phone buzzed in my pocket, calls from you, texts from Josh. I didn't answer. I just kept walking. I stayed in a cheap motel that night. I had no real plan. Anger and sorrow circled inside me, but I still couldn't explode. It felt like my soul had retreated to a hidden vantage point, where it observed everything clinically, storing it away for later. The next morning, I turned my phone on. Missed calls, messages. One from Josh. "Dad, please come home. Mom told me. I'm sorry." My chest twisted. I read that line over and over. Even now, he called me Dad. I turned off the phone again. That day, I called a realtor friend and asked about short-term rentals. He said he had a bare-bones apartment I could lease month to month. I took it. Went in, saw the empty rooms, scuffed floors, walls that needed a paint job. As soon as he handed me the key, I felt a strange sense of, I don't know, power. It was the first time in months I was controlling something in my life. I moved my essentials in, not letting you or Josh know. In my pocket, I kept the video of you and Tony, stored on a flash drive. I also had the DNA test. I didn't intend to blackmail you or ruin you. I just wanted to hold on to the truth, because the truth was all I had left. That first night in the apartment, I sat in a folding chair, the only piece of furniture I'd bothered to bring. A single lamp lit the dim space. The walls were blank, smelling faintly of fresh drywall. I thought about calling Josh, about telling him how sorry I was for disappearing. But I just sat there, hours passing like minutes, mind churning. My phone remained silent. You must have given up on calling, Or perhaps you realized how final my departure was. The next day, I bought a small tripod and a simple camera. Not a fancy one, just enough to record a single video. I set it up in the living room of that empty apartment, the old wooden floor creaking under my weight. I tested the lighting from the overhead fixture. Wasn't great, but it would do. Then I pressed record. I sat in front of the camera, arms resting on my knees, looking straight into the lens. And I spoke. If you're watching this, that means she's done it again. To you, or to someone else. And you deserve a warning. You deserve to know who she is. My voice echoed in the barren room. I glanced at the floor, collecting myself, then back to the lens. Don't be scared. She's sweet. She has a smile like summer. And she'll make you think you're the only man in her world. But trust me, she'll lie to your face. She'll kiss you so tenderly you'll want to believe every word. I don't blame you for falling into it. Hell, I did too. And for a while, it was beautiful. I paused. My eyes were burning, but no tears came. Anyway, if you've stumbled upon this recording, I guess I just want you to know, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. So watch your step. Watch your heart. I swallowed, feeling an ache in my throat. I'm not going to seek revenge. I'm not going to blow up her life. Sometimes men don't do that. Sometimes we just walk away. We give her the road. We let her find the next man, and maybe the next after that. And you know what? That's her choice. Maybe she can't help it. Maybe she can. I don't know anymore. But I do know I'm done being her fool. I took a shaky breath, stared at the camera. I'm doing this for me too. For the last dozen years, I built my life around a lie. I raised a boy I thought was mine by blood. Turns out he isn't. I only found out after I saw a video of her with another man. Someone she wanted more than she wanted me. It's funny how the truth unravels everything. So, if you're watching, I hope you're prepared. She'll tear you up inside if you let her. Don't. It's not worth it. A long pause. My voice got quieter. I'm leaving now. Not just the apartment, not just her, but everything that tethered me to this lie. If she tries to come back, tries to get you to doubt your own eyes and ears, remember this face, this voice, and remember that you're not alone. We all fell for it, one way or another. A final beat. Good luck. And to whoever finds this, take care of yourself. She's not your responsibility. I stopped recording. The quiet in the apartment pressed down on me like a heavy blanket. I replayed the footage once, watching my own face speak with that eerie calm. Then I saved it. No editing, no retakes. Just raw, uncut truth. I could have left it at that, but something in me wanted closure. A day later, I called you and asked to meet. I'll come by the house, I said. Just you and me. Josh should be at a friend's, right? You sounded relieved, maybe thinking I wanted to reconcile. He's staying with a classmate for a school project. Yes. Come over whenever. I arrived that evening. You tried to greet me at the door with open arms, tears in your eyes. I sidestepped your embrace. Your face fell. I entered the living room, noticing how it smelled of your usual vanilla candle. You'd probably lit it to soften the atmosphere. Too late for that. We sat across from each other on the sofa. The ring on my finger felt heavy, suffocating. You attempted small talk. How have you been? Are you eating? I just studied your face, searching for a flicker of the woman I used to love. You looked thinner, your eyes shadowed with guilt or worry. Finally, I spoke. I came to say goodbye. Tears filled your eyes instantly. Don't do this. I can change. I'll do therapy, couples counseling, anything. Please, Michael. My voice was even. It's too late for that. You lied to me our entire marriage about Josh, and you kept on lying when you took a lover right under my nose. You can't rebuild trust on a foundation like that. You crumbled. I watched you weep, twisting your hands in your lap. I thought maybe seeing your pain would comfort me. It didn't. I felt empty, a vague sympathy, perhaps, but no desire to fix us. The illusions had died. At some point, you managed to choke out, "But Josh needs you. You're his father, Michael, no matter what the DNA says." That stung. It's true, DNA or not, I was the man who raised him, taught him how to ride a bike, read him bedtime stories, taught him how to tie a tie. That bond, at least, was real. My voice softened. He'll always have a place in my heart. I won't abandon him. But as for you and me, there's nothing left. I reached into my jacket pocket and drew out my ring, the one I'd taken off before coming. I set it on the coffee table. The faint metal clinks sounded final, irrevocable. Your shoulders shook harder. "Please," you whispered. I let out a long breath, then said, "I'm renting an apartment. I'll give you the address if Josh wants to come see me. But I won't stay in this house anymore." You tried to speak, your lips trembling, but no words came. I stood, walked to the door, stopped there for a moment, hand resting on the doorknob. "I'm not slamming the door," I said quietly, "just leaving it behind." The mention of door slamming felt symbolic, though I wasn't sure you understood. I left the key on the hallway table. Then I stepped outside into the chilly evening, letting the door close softly behind me. No anger, no shouting, just finality. Over the next weeks, I made arrangements. We didn't fight about assets. You were oddly compliant, maybe out of guilt. The house, the finances, some part of me wanted to burn it all. But I was too drained. Instead, we quietly sorted legalities. You insisted on no lawyers or minimal involvement, so we found a mediator. A few signatures, a few painful hours of discussion. We told Josh we were separating. He stared at us with watery eyes. I could see a war inside him. Guilt at causing me pain, anger at you for lying, sorrow for the loss of a stable home. I wanted to say a million things, but all that came out was, "I love you, son. That will never change." He nodded, tears slipping silently down his cheeks. I pulled him into a hug, and he let me. We stayed like that for a minute, me holding him as though I could freeze time, shield him from the heartbreak. I knew I couldn't. Eventually, he pulled away and looked at his mother. His face was a storm of hurt, betrayal, and a flicker of confusion. She tried to embrace him, but he stepped back. "Why did you lie?" he asked, voice cracking. I didn't wait to hear her reply. I stepped out of the room, giving them space. My part in that conversation was done. Life in the small apartment wasn't comfortable, but it was mine. My job changed. I left my old position, pivoting to a freelance arrangement. I spent countless nights alone with my thoughts, occasionally meeting Josh for dinner. He was guarded, torn. He lived with you, but I knew his trust in you was badly shaken. Still, he was your son in every way that counted, and I was just the man who'd raised him. The lines felt blurred, complicated. 2 months after I moved out, I heard from a mutual acquaintance that you were still seeing Tony. I wasn't sure why it should matter to me. Perhaps I'd wanted to believe you'd changed. But hearing it confirmed what I suspected all along. This was who you were. You needed that excitement, that constant validation. Maybe Tony would eventually find himself in my position, discovering your next secret. Maybe not. It wasn't my concern anymore. Josh visited me one afternoon. I made coffee, the best I could. We sat in the Spartan living room, my single lamp, and a small second-hand couch. He looked around, taking in the emptiness. "Dad, it's weird not having you at home," he murmured. I nodded. "It's weird for me too." He fiddled with his phone. I recognized teenage discomfort in his posture. "So, are you going to come back at all?" "No," I said quietly. "Your mother and we're done, Josh. That's not going to change." His eyes shone with tears. "But," he hesitated, "you're still my dad, right? I mean, you never said otherwise." I felt a tightness in my chest. Carefully, I reached across and put my hand on his shoulder. "Of course I'm still here for you. Nothing changes that. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Mom's different now. She's, I don't know, anxious all the time. She keeps apologizing to me, telling me she was just scared. She says she still loves you, that she never wanted this. I let out a breath. I know she loves me in her own way, but sometimes love isn't enough. He stared at me for a moment, then lowered his gaze. I get it. Kinda. After a while, we talked about school, about his ambitions. He was interested in film editing, ironically. Maybe that short snippet of you and Tony had sparked something in him, though it came at such a painful cost. Before he left, he gave me a hesitant hug. I love you, he said, for the first time since this all began. I felt tears threaten. I swallowed them back. I love you too, Josh. Always. Time slid by, days turning into weeks, then months. We lived separate lives, you and I. The divorce proceeded quietly. I discovered a new normal. Working from my laptop at a small table near the apartment window, jogging in the mornings to clear my head, occasionally having dinner with Josh, or meeting an old friend for a beer. Each day, the wound scabbed over a little more. But the scar would always be there, I knew. I thought about the video I'd recorded in the empty apartment. Part of me toyed with the idea of sending it to Tony or posting it online, some vengeful part that wanted to show the world who you were. But every time I considered it, I hesitated, because that would be stooping to a level I didn't want. Ruining your reputation, humiliating you. What would that accomplish? If Tony was going to discover your nature, he'd discover it on his own. Maybe it was enough that I had parted ways with dignity. Then one day, you called me out of the blue. My phone buzzed in the middle of an afternoon. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. Your voice was quiet. I need to talk to you, you said. What about? It's important. It's regarding Josh. My chest tightened. Is he all right? Yes, he's fine. But can we meet? Please. I agreed, though part of me was wary. We chose a small coffee shop near my place. When I arrived, you were sitting at a corner table, fingers tapping anxiously. The moment you saw me, you tried to smile. It didn't quite reach your eyes. You had a different look, more subdued, maybe a little broken. I sat across from you. You fiddled with your coffee cup. Finally, you exhaled. Josh told me he wants to move in with you for a while. I blinked. He said that. Yes. He's uncomfortable living with me and Tony, and he wants a break. You swallowed. I can't blame him, can I? I considered you carefully. How do you feel about that? You rubbed your eyes. I hate it. But I understand it. You paused, tears threatening. Look, I know you have every reason to resent me. But Josh still needs both of us in his life. I wanted to make sure you're okay with him staying at your place. Of course, I said without hesitation. He's my son. I realized I meant that with every fiber of my being. Genetics be damned. You studied my face, maybe searching for anger or condemnation. I offered none. Instead, I asked quietly, are you happy with Tony? You blinked, a tear escaping. I don't know if happy is the word. It's complicated. But I made this bed. Now I have to lie in it. I gave a small nod. You do. Silence hung between us. Then you said, I never wanted to lose you. I don't know what I was thinking. I let out a breath, feeling that calm wash over me again. You were searching for something you thought you were missing, I said, my voice measured. Maybe I wasn't enough. Or maybe you weren't willing to face your own restlessness. Either way, we're here now. You pressed your lips together, more tears forming. I sipped my coffee, waiting. I had no illusions that you'd change my mind. My path was set. But it was strange seeing you like this, vulnerable and regretful. Finally, I put down my cup. We can arrange for Josh to move in next week. I'll give him the spare room. He'll have a stable place to finish the semester. After that, we'll see. You nodded, pressing a napkin to your eyes. Thank you. Without further conversation, I stood and walked away. There was no embrace, no goodbye kiss, just a polite dip of my head. Outside, the air felt strangely fresh. I let out a breath I'd been holding. This was a victory of sorts, but it felt hollow. Josh came over that weekend with a small suitcase, a duffel bag of clothes. He looked relieved to be away from the tension under your roof. I showed him around the cramped apartment. It's not much, I admitted, but you'll have your own room. We can get it fixed up a bit. He nodded, smiling faintly. Thanks for letting me stay. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Always. There was a small, profound moment where we both realized that fatherhood goes beyond biology. We didn't say it aloud, but it was there in the air. Living with Josh injected a sense of normalcy back into my routine. I cooked meals, he helped with dishes. We talked about his classes, his plans for summer. For the first time in months, I felt calm in a decent way. Not that lethal calm from the heartbreak, but something approaching peace. Josh asked few questions about you or Tony. I sensed he was exhausted by the drama. Once he asked if I hated you. I considered my answer carefully. No, I said at last. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. But hate. That's a heavy burden. I'd rather move forward without it. He seemed to ponder that, then nodded slowly. We left it at that. Time passes. Life moves on. In the end, we're left with fragments of memory, and we decide what to do with them. About a year after I left you, I found the camera that had my message stored. I watched it again, alone in my now slightly more furnished apartment. My hair was a bit longer back then, my eyes haunted. I saw how tight my jaw was, how my voice never trembled but carried a hidden quake beneath the surface. When it finished, I just sat there, thinking how that man on the screen had changed so much in a single year. I wasn't innocent anymore. I'd lost illusions about love, about trust, about the bedrock of fatherhood. But I'd gained a self-awareness that, for better or worse, made me stronger. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about the day you told me Josh wasn't mine. The old heartbreak resurfaces, that sense of betrayal that you robbed me of the choice to know the truth from the beginning. But I also think, if I had known, maybe I wouldn't have stayed, wouldn't have raised him as my own. And that would be a tragedy, because despite everything, Josh is my son in every way that matters. No one can take that from us. And so, ironically, I find a sliver of gratitude in the ashes of our marriage. You gave me a son to love, even if you deceived me about the biology. You taught me how to persevere, how to face betrayal, and not let it consume me. That's the real victory, learning to survive after everything crumbles. If Tony ends up in my shoes someday, well, that's his path to walk. I won't pity him or laugh at him. I'll just remember my own words. Sometimes men don't take revenge. They give the road. No door slam, no final blowout, no dramatic spectacle. Just a quiet, measured exit, leaving the keys in the lock and stepping into the night air, free in a way I never was before. That's how I finished my story with you, and maybe that's how I found the strength to start a new one, on my own terms. I suppose in another life, if you had been honest from the start, we might have built something that would last. But we'll never know now. All that's left is the present moment. And in that moment, I'm a man who's learned to walk through darkness and come out intact. It's not a perfect life, but it's mine. And that after all this is enough. Thank you for teaching me how to survive.